I want Ted one-on-one, okay?
Hillary Clinton comes under fire for her latest victory speech.
Our commander-in-chief has to be able to defend our country, not embarrass it. We should be breaking down barriers, not building walls. This isn't just about Donald Trump. All of us have to do our part. Let's stand with everyone who believes America's best days are ahead of us.
No, she's not being criticized for the content of that speech, but rather for her tone. Several male political commentators, including Fox News' Bret Hume and Politico's Glenn Thrush, criticized her for shouting, saying she comes across as mad. MSNBC's Joe Scarborough tweeted, "Smile, you just had a big night." But Hillary supporters, well, they're just not having it. They say the comments are sexist and highlight a double standard. Time magazine's Jay Newton-Small writes, "Sorry to single out the men, but I scrolled through the coverage of the mostly female reporters who were covering Clinton, and I didn't see this king of commentary." Newton-Small continues, Sanders yells and people get passionate when with him. Clinton yells and people think she's yelling at them. And there was also this last month from Bob Woodward.
I think a lot of it with Hillary Clinton has to do with style and delivery, oddly enough. She shouts. There is something unrelaxed about the way she is communicating.
Is there? Let's bring in our roundtable.
You know, there's definitely some shouting going on. Joining us today, Jennifer Burke, co-founder and editor-in-chief of Politistick and Republican Strategist, and the guy who runs the Civic Forum, PAC, Ford O'Connell. Thanks for being with us today.
Good to be here, guys.
All right, Jennifer, let's start with you. I want to point out, too, that Michelle Malkin, who's a conservative, and Dana Perino also commented on Hillary Clinton's tone. I know you're a Tea Party conservative, so there might be some feelings about Hillary Clinton, but when you hear someone criticize her voice, does that offend you?
It doesn't. I criticize her voice every single time I hear her talk. My nickname for her in our household, maybe I shouldn't say this on the air, is Rosie the Robot. I think she sounds robotic. She does not have a great connection among women, despite the women that are defending her. And her tone and delivery are terrible. This is why people say she's just not, she just doesn't come across as this warm and fuzzy, likable person, despite trying to present herself as such, as the grandmotherly figure, as she tweets in Spanish, to the Hispanic community.
Yeah, Ford, earlier we played that clip from the Comedy Central show Broad City, and somehow in that arena she managed to sound somewhat normal. But you listen to, if you read that speech from Tuesday night on paper, you get a totally different feeling if you actually listen to her speak about it. But my question for you is, Media Matters was all over this the day after, but do you think this is some kind of like liberal media plant story to help her with women voters?
Well, I think that she's a terrible campaigner, and she's particularly terrible with large crowds versus small crowds. She's much better with small crowds. But yes, I do believe that this is a way to basically subliminally stoke the war on women. I'm going to tell you why she's shouting. Two reasons. One, Trump has changed the rules of the game. And two, whenever she wins a contest, within 10 seconds, the cameras go to Trump. She can't buy media attention
so
right now
Ford,
unless
you're
she
saying
plans
this is a calculated thing on her. She has some kind of focus group or some sort of research that tells her to raise the volume.
No, she is not good at campaigning. What I'm trying to say is that the media is planning this story that men are ganging up on her because, frankly, she isn't generating any enthusiasm even among women.
I have to say this because our booker, Nada, heard me say when I saw that speech, didn't even see the article, came out and said, I think she confuses energy and passion with shouting. And they're not the same thing. And I came in the other day, and then someone said, oh, there's all these articles of people talking about that. But I never perceived it as being sexist. And she's admitted herself that she's a bad campaigner. I mean, Hillary has said that. I just think she feels that she has to shout, and I agree that she can sound a little bit robotic. She just doesn't have that delivery style. But I don't think that's a sexist comment. I think there are women out there that do. I think Carly Fiorina has a great delivery style. Just saying.
We wanted to talk about this, too, because when you look at this, we know we're going to hear more about the war on women, especially if Donald Trump goes on to be the nominee. But here are some poll numbers that might concern Donald Trump. Women feel very unfavorably about him. This according to a new Reuters Ipsos poll. 50% now feel very unfavorably about Donald Trump, up 10% since last October. Now, Jennifer, if you look at this, let's say Trump goes on to become the nominee. How does he address this?
I don't know how he addresses that. I mean, he tries to address it by saying, I'm not sexist. I've hired a bunch of women. Look at how high up my daughter is in my company. She runs a lot of things. But he just has a decades-long track record of just denigrating women and misogynistic statements. I mean, there's absolutely no other way to say it. Maybe if he pulls back away from doing that, stop calling Megyn Kelly crazy on Twitter because you don't like what she has to say, there's not going to be really any way to make that go away unless he completely changes his tone and the things he says about the women he doesn't like between now and, the next few months.
Well, he has called Ted lying Ted, and he has called Dr. Carson a psychopath. Ford,
I was reading some articles about him from a Howard Stern interview through the years, three to four different years earlier, and some of the things he said about women were highly disturbing. Far worse than Lion Ted and Little Marco.
Well, Ford, you've been warming up to the idea of Donald Trump as the nominee. Is this a concern for you, though, if he's facing off against Hillary Clinton?
It is a concern, but understand, we're not talking about abortion. We're not talking about issues. We're not talking about an actual war on women. What we're talking about here is tone and rhetoric. Yes, he can improve upon these numbers. Yes, it is a concern. It is not the end of the world, and he is a unique political animal who time and time again has shown he can change to the occasion. So it is a problem, but understand something else about this unfavorable view among women. Republicans have always done terribly among women. In fact, Mitt Romney lost 55-45. So actually within that range, Donald Trump could still win the general election.
Yeah, and as we pointed out yesterday, Mitt Romney even had binders full of women, and he still didn't do very well with women. You might have to Google that one and go back in time.
Flashbacks.
It's just fun to say.
All right, Jennifer Ford, stick around. We still have a lot more to cover here. Coming up next, conservatives react to the president's high court pick, but could that reaction backfire for the GOP?
And welcome back to Newsmax Now. Supreme Court Justice nominee Merrick Garland on Capitol Hill today meeting with top Senate Democrats. New York's Chuck Schumer, senator there, said Republicans are holding off because they want Donald Trump to choose the next Supreme Court nominee.
If the Republicans in the Senate want to continue to tie themselves to Donald Trump, so be it. Donald Trump won't make America great again, but he will make Republicans the minority again.
Ooh, burn. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said it's time for the Senate to move on to other pressing issues, though some key Republicans may be open to a hearing with the nominee after all. After the November election, Senator Orrin Hatch and Jeff Flake say that Judge Merrick Garland may be a more centrist option than one proposed by Hillary Clinton if she were to win.
And that's where we want to bring back today's roundtable. Rejoining us, Jennifer Burke, the co-founder and editor-in-chief at Politistic, and Republican strategist Ford O'Connell. Thank you both for staying with us. Jennifer, let's start with you because we've been talking about this for some time, that Republicans came out right away before they even heard the president's pick for the Supreme Court and said, no matter what he says, we're not going to hold any hearings on it. And then we talked about Orrin Hatch. Orrin Hatch said he thought Merrick Garland would be a great choice, but he didn't think President Obama was actually going to do it. Well, guess what? President Obama did it. How bad now will this look at the Republicans don't at least have hearings?
Well, there's historical precedents for not. I mean, Barack Obama himself did not want to have an up or down vote when it came to Justice Alito. He supported a filibuster when it came to Justice Roberts. I think Republicans actually, one thing I would suggest, though, is they get their messaging straight, because we've seen time and again say, oh, we're not going to do this, and then ultimately they end up backtracking and actually doing it. So they're sending out very, very mixed messages, which is not really good for their base, who already have a difficult time believing what they say. And I was shocked that I know Merrick Garland is being sold as a centrist, but he has some very questionable stances on the Second Amendment. And I don't believe someone who supported a gun ban in D.C. would really uphold the Second Amendment as per the Constitution.
Boy, this story is moving pretty quickly, including today. I read that Chuck Grassley now says he is open to the idea of actually meeting with Merrick Garland and having a hearing, and I think that's pretty huge. What do you make of the shift in this story? You got Mitch McConnell saying there's no way this is ever going to happen, which is probably true, but then you have some wrinkles, some cracks perhaps opening up is one way it's been described.
Well, you have some people that are basically wetting their pants. You got to hold the line on this, okay? You can make more change to the Supreme Court than you can through any piece of legislation through the United States Congress. Here's the deal. I think we're spinning this all the wrong way. Why? We can let the American people weigh in on who the next Supreme Court nominee is. Why should we deny them a voice at the ballot box? And understand something else. This is about process, not Judge Garland's actual credentials here. And therefore, you cannot hold hearings because if you do, it becomes personal about him. Keep it on the process. Understand why you got to do that. Only 24% of Americans can name 2 of the 9 Supreme Court justices. They don't know anything about it, so don't let them.
So you're saying...
Well, I think President Obama, and this is just, this is maybe a far-out theory, but I think President Obama puts up Merrick Garland, maybe can get a hearing because of his qualifications, and then doesn't get voted in, and then President Obama can nominate somebody perhaps younger, perhaps a minority.
Absolutely, this is a rope-a-dope.
Exactly. You'd never want to underestimate Barack Obama when it comes to this stuff, because he always seems to get the upper hand with Senate Republicans.
You're absolutely right. This is a political rope-a-dope. Let me say one more thing. The Democrats are going to be sad when Obama and Reid step down because they're their 2 best campaign strategists. And after that, they may not be able to win a dog catcher in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Trust me, this is very smart on Obama's part.
Jennifer, how do you think this is going to play out?
I don't think Merrick Garland is gonna get confirmed. I'm not a fan of Mitch McConnell. I did like him using the words "the Biden rule" since Joe Biden opposed George Bush being able to nominate anyone for 18 months. But it is scary. I don't trust anything Obama does, though. I mean, truthfully, he presents someone to me, says he's a centrist, and I agree. There is something he has up his sleeve. What the Republicans have to do is make sure that they win the presidency, because if the Supreme Court shifts to being a lot more liberal, as I believe it was the New York Times said Merrick Garland would do, then our country's in for a world of trouble.
All right, so we got some different opinions here. I just want to get you guys to weigh in. This is a race, this is a battle, whatever you want to call it. Who do you guys think has the inside lane, first to Jennifer and then to Ford? Who has the inside lane in this battle between President Obama and Mitch McConnell?
Start with me?
Yes.
Well, Obama plays a chess game better. That's the problem. As I said earlier, Mitch McConnell, he usually shows his hand early. They've contradicted themselves. They've gone back on things that they say they'll do, and then they don't. So they need to hold firm, as the grassroots has been waiting for the Republican Party to do. And if they said they were not going to do something, then leadership needs to actually not do it. And but watch Barack Obama, because he plays chess well.
Or do you think Mitch McConnell's going to be able to get everybody in line and hold the line?
Well, the question is, can Donald Trump win the general election? If Donald Trump can prove that he can win the general election, this is all moot, because then the Republicans will be able to realize that their whole livelihood in the Senate depends on him. And if he can do it, guess what? Hold the line. The better Trump does, the better off you are holding the line.
There you have it. Jennifer, Ford, thank you both for joining us. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.